We are all immensely bored right now, and in this boredom, nothing calls our name like doom scrolling social media. And through these doom scrolls, you may have seen the news of everyone's favorite race fixer Flavio Briatore being rumored that he is willing to drop the new Alpine driver Jack Doohan after just 5 races if he doesn't perform this season. Dog, the season is not even started yet. What do you mean he's gonna get dropped that soon? Does he think that these rumors will motivate Jack to perform out the gate like he isn't a rookie? I just don't understand the thought process behind this. So then, like always, I got to thinking, has the driver market ever been this cruel before? I thought that these Jack Doohan rumors made for a good case study, so in this video I want to answer the question I posed and also try to find just reasoning behind this thought process. Too recent have we seen driver market moves, especially in the mid-season, be so cruel and gut-wrenching, and sure, some of them were beneficial, however almost all of them are just ugly to watch and deal with. So without further ado, join the Discord where good chats happen on there, and subscribe if you're new if you love the drama either way. So enough yapping and let us see just what the hell is going on with the driver market. So before we even answer anything or look at examples, let us further define the problem. If you paid attention to my intro, I proposed the question of, has the driver market ever been this cruel? However, a more accurate description of the question would be, has the driver market ever been this cruel in recent history? I say recent because there was a time before the 90s really, and even then it was still a bit weird, where drivers were just in and out of cars like there was no tomorrow. It really wasn't until the 2000s where teams actually locked in drivers for most of the season, stuck with that. But even still, there were teams like Red Bull who would deadass cycle drivers every couple of races and see what worked. But to be fair, I don't think they changed all too much since then. Anyways, point is, I want to keep things as recent as possible, so no pre-2010s talk, because if I did, then the video would go exactly like this. Yes, the driver market has been crueler than it is right now. Jokes aside, I hope that explains why I'm keeping things recent. Anyways, with that out the way, here's how things are gonna go. To prove or disprove my question and main point, I'm going to look at recent examples of driver market switches that seem to have happened due to performance reasons, not contract related reasons. By contract related reasons, I mean that if a driver move happened due to a driver's contract running out, or if a driver was dissatisfied with their contract, or any other reason along those lines, then they will not be included in my examples. And by performance related reasons, I mean that if a driver move happened due to a driver performing below expectations, then they will be included in my examples. So, for example, Franco Colapinto becoming a free agent at the end of last season will not count. However, Logan Sargent being replaced by Colapinto will count as an example. Make sense? Cool. Okay, now let's move on to the examples I want to mention. I'm just going to list off examples of driver moves, and at the end of it, I'm going to try and determine if it was a cruel or an expected move. And obviously, I may have missed out on some drivers, and if I did, feel free to mention them in the comments below. So let's start with everyone's favorite year for some reason, 2016, and we of course have the Kvyat and Verstappen swap. In 2015, Daniel Kvyat signed a contract to join Red Bull after a fairly impressive year in 2014 at Toro Rosso, and in 2015, he did fairly well too. I mean, he finished ahead of Ricciardo in the standings, and even though context is heavily needed, the result was still final. However, there was a major flaw in Kvyat's driving. He fucking sucks at driving. Sure, he can get a nice result here and there, but man, this dude loves to crash, sometimes even on nothing or something so minuscule that you kind of have to try and crash. So that's already a 1 point down in Red Bull's book, and the second point down on their books would be due to a little kid named Max Verstappen. In 2015, Max was a rookie at age 17, and in the Toro Rosso, wow, this kid knew how to overtake like a champion. And while yes, he did crash a lot too, it was more worth it since he had such a natural talent for F1, and Red Bull knew they had to get this kid in a Red Bull car ASAP. So 2016 rolls around, and in the first 4 races, Kvyat had a DNS, a 7th place finish, a podium in China after successfully killing Kimi and missing out on Seb, and a DNF in Russia where he did take down Seb with him. Red Bull knew he had to go, so they announced for the Spanish Grand Prix, Max Verstappen is the new Red Bull driver while Kvyat was demoted back down to Toro Rosso. And was it worth it? Yeah, I think so. So overall, I have no idea where to put this. Yes, Kvyat had a knack for crashing, and while Max does too, at least Max is scoring podiums regularly, so I would say this is a bit cruel from Red Bull, since 4 races is really minuscule, but at least he did have a full season in 2015, and like I said, it was worth it through Max. Another example I want to highlight is the Palmer and Sainz swap. Another mid-season swap, however with 2 non-affiliated teams. Jolyon Palmer joined the grid for Renault in 2016, and he was fairly, he was kind of horrible, to put it as kind as possible, but it was fine since the team in general were pretty horrible in 2016, so it gets a pass. However, 2017 was different. Renault were actually better and could perhaps get some lovely points, and with Hülkenberg, that was the case, but with Palmer, yeah, no. And with Carlos Sainz, he was really good for Toro Rosso. He was always getting points in good quality positions since his rookie year in 2015. However, with Verstappen getting promoted in 2016 to Red Bull and Ricciardo seeming like he's a mainstay forever with the team, Sainz knew he was fucked. So he made the boss call and jumped ships to Renault mid-season in 2017 to their delight since he is no Palmer. So yeah, if you couldn't grasp the idea yet, this one was pretty expected since I'm pretty sure most of you don't know just how bad Palmer was. So yeah, not cruel at all. However, going off topic, it's kind of sad to think about how if Sainz had stayed at Toro Rosso, he likely would have been at Red Bull in 2019, but no one in 2017 could have thought Ricciardo would actually leave the team the following year. Anyways, again in 2017, we have the Kvyat and Gasly swap. Man, this guy can't catch a break. This one is quick, but basically, take what I said about Kvyat before, but multiply it harder. He scored even less points and crashed a whole ton more. So after Singapore, the team had enough of him once and for all and replaced him with the GP2 or F2 winner of 2016, Pierre Gasly. Gasly didn't score points in 2017, however 2018 he would show what he is made of, while Kvyat, he wouldn't return for a while after this. So yeah, this is an even more expected driver move, so moving on. We are now in 2019 and we have the Gasly and Albon swap next up. Jesus man, have you noticed how all of these moves I've talked about are dealing with Red Bull drivers? Anyways, Gasly in 2018 did fairly well, and with Ricciardo now gone, Red Bull hired Gasly to replace him, but since he is on this list, something went clearly wrong. Gasly couldn't get up to grips with the Red Bull car. Whenever he needed it steady, it slipped away from him. Whenever he needed it slippy, it just stayed in place. He couldn't drive the damn thing comfortably, so they dropped him. But whoa, Gasly may not be comfy in the car, however he is scoring points and not crashing unlike Kvyat. Why was he dropped? Well, Mercedes that year were simply untouchable, and Ferrari were staying relatively close to them, which meant Red Bull were kinda in no man's land, too far back from first and second, but too far ahead from fourth. So they basically said, fuck it. They promoted Alex Albon and demoted Gasly back to Toro Rosso. To be fair, Albon did much better than Gasly, since this guy only finished 6th, 5th, and 4th, and it did seem like it was the correct move for Red Bull. Then 2020 came, but this is not about that. So overall, I want to say this one was kind of cruel, and I know, Gasly was underperforming, but in 2020, he really entered a new state of mind and was always a top 6 or 7 finisher most races, and that's only 2020. Since 2021, he was a new demon. In my opinion, I think Gasly sacking in 2019 was cruel, even taking away the future years, since Red Bull should have stuck with their gut and went all in and try and help him as best as they could. It was also his first year in that car. If he did not perform in 2020, just like in 2019, then sack him like Kvyat, but to sack him after just 12 races in his first season at the front, I think it's just a bit cruel, especially when Horner said he wouldn't sack him. Now we take a massive leap through time to 2022, and we have the Ricciardo and Piastri swap. Finally, a non-Red Bull one. Daniel Ricciardo would join McLaren in 2021, and after a decent 2021, everyone was excited about this pairing going forward. Daniel has a long-term contract that sees him past 2022, and it's also new regulations, but no one could have predicted his fall from grace. I mean, except if you're a hater, but whatever. If 2019 was an ass year for Daniel, then put a BBL on that year. That is how ass 2022 was. He was outperformed by Lando in almost all metrics, and he just couldn't find performance for the life of him. But he has a long-term contract, so maybe in 2023 he could find his mojo again.
2022 will be my last year with McLaren.
Okay, so he's gone. McLaren quite literally paid Daniel to leave. You know how sad that is? I would not let that shit happen to my favorite driver. Anyways, it was announced that 2021 F2 winner Oscar Piastri would take his spot for 2023, and that's it. Beloved figure found dead in Chicago. So overall, I would say this one is expected since he did suck, but going off track, this one is also a bit cruel because this guy had a long contract sent to the shredder and was paid to leave. Had this been like 5 or 10 years ago, he probably would have stayed until some agreement was met that didn't involve money or something embarrassing like that. This would also set a chain reaction for the future regarding the validity of driver contracts. Next, we have the De Vries and Ricciardo swap. More Red Bull, yippee! Picking up where we left off, Daniel would become Red Bull's third driver for 2023, while Nick De Vries finally got his F1 shot. De Vries won the F2 championship in 2019 and was a Formula E world champion, so expectations were high for him at AlphaTauri. However, he kind of struggled to get up to grips. The car that year was pretty bad, comfortably the worst on the grid, but while Yuki managed to get some points, De Vries couldn't. It also didn't help that he had a knack for spins and crashes here and there, and yeah, he just looked to struggle. So Red Bull threw him out. Ricciardo had tested the Red Bull car at Silverstone, and in situations that didn't match qualifying, he would have lined up next to Max according to Christian Horner, so that was the reason why De Vries was fired. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this one, guys. This move was cruel. Yes, De Vries was struggling, but for fuck's sakes, man, it's his first year in F1. How is anyone supposed to get up to grips that fast? Not every driver is the next Max Verstappen, and I think Red Bull don't know that, so this one is just cruel. At least give him an entire year to see what he can and can't do, and then make your judgment for 2024. Speaking of 2024, we have the examples from that year, and there are way too many to talk about, so I'll just highlight the main points from my examples. Firstly, Esteban Ocon for Jack Doohan is just straight up cruel. Esteban was let go at the end of 2024 for apparent performance reasons, and this announcement was made after Monaco, and up to that point, Ocon was ahead of Gasly comfortably, might I add, but he crashed with Gasly at Monaco, and yeah, that was a pretty stupid one. And boom, the cat is out the bag now. At first, they wanted to fire him effective immediately, but instead announced he would be let go at the end of the year. If all it takes is one crash to get fired, then we'd be seeing a whole lot of activity in the driver market more, so this one's just flat out cruel. It also doesn't help that going forward, Ocon's luck would plummet, while Gasly suspiciously never had any more car or setup problems starting in Canada. Next, I want to mention the Ricciardo and Lawson swap, and this one I would say is also cruel. Now yes, again, Ricciardo was underperforming and was under threat from Liam for a while, so I don't deny that he deserved to be dropped, but it was in the way it was handled. No one knew what was happening until he was dropped, and you get the feeling that there was more conflict at play behind the scenes, but alas, performance reigns above all, so a cruel move, but not for performance reasons, just like in 2022. Plus, it was literally like 6 more races until the season was over, like, come on now. Finally, I want to mention Perez being replaced by Liam, and while it is a stupid move since it really should have been Yuki, it was an expected move. Perez was performing especially shit this season, so it was to no one's surprise he got sacked. However, I want to mention something again. Perez was contracted for 2 more years. Like Ricciardo in 2022, it seems that their contracts were just sent to the shredder and essentially left them in a hard place with zero hope of finding somewhere else to drive for the following season. It really seems that as time went on, contracts just started to lose their value and seems they could just be ripped up for the cruelest of reasons now. Obviously, there were more moves I could have mentioned, like Wehrlein for Leclerc, Hülkenberg for Ocon, Perez for Vettel. However, I didn't mention them because they seemed more due to contract running out inconveniently instead of performance reasons. And in the case of Ocon and Perez, they were ripped up due to money reasons since, let's be real, in 2019, it still should have been Ocon and Perez as teammates, and in 2021, it should have been Perez and Vettel as teammates. But thanks to Stroll money, contracts no matter what have no value or meaning when it comes to them. So, has the driver market ever been more cruel in recent history? Again, recent history, because if this was all of history, then the answer would be yes, but in recent history, has it? Well, after looking at the past 9 years, I think no, this has been the most cruel the driver market has been. Back then, drivers were at least given a season's worth of driving before being fired the next season, but as time progressed, it started to become you get 1 season and you're out at the end, no next season, and then it became half a season, and now it's just a couple of races you get, and if you fuck up even once, you're out. Now, it is worth mentioning, this is because of performance reasons. Drivers are expected to perform week in and week out, and it makes sense a team would be mad about poor results, but now it seems teams' patience are wearing thinner each year. In my opinion, if what Ocon did in Monaco happened in 2021, he would not have been fired. In my opinion, De Vries would have been given an entire season in 2020 or 2021. While yes, mid-season swaps happened a lot in 2016 and 2017, that was because it was pretty damn clear the drivers weren't going to improve since they actually had time to show what they were made of. Palmer had a season and a half, Kvyat was in F1 since 2014, but De Vries being dropped in 2023 after 11 or 12 races in F1? That's fucked up, man. So I think this problem of the driver market being incredibly cruel right now does exist. So how could it be fixed? Patience. Literally, patience. I know millions are on the line for constructors placements, but you can't keep getting mad that new drivers don't perform immediately out the gate. Not everyone is a Verstappen or Hamilton, and that's okay. Rookie drivers need to at least be given a season's worth of driving, with the only exception being if they perform like Mazepin and spin and crash at any given opportunity. The exception shouldn't be just finishing like 3 or 4 places below your teammate. Give them time, and if a season and a half have gone by where no improvement is seen, then fire them and find someone new. De Vries's reputation is forever tarnished because he was let go so soon. People think he is a genuine bad driver despite being one of the best in WEC. This also applies to seasoned drivers as well. In the case of Ricciardo in 2022, while cruel, yes, it was cruel because of the contract breach, not performance reasons. Same with Checo in 2024, so I don't deny their sackings. But with Ocon in 2024, Gasly in 2019, even ones I didn't mention like Perez in 2020 or Ocon in 2018, the talent was clearly still there. They weren't washed yet, and they deserve to stay and try and find their value again. So, simple solution, give your drivers proper time and see if they find their mojo and go off of that. It's really not that hard in my opinion. So that was my thoughts on this whole issue. Now admittedly, this video can backfire because who knows, maybe Doohan is actually a worse Mazepin and deserves to be sacked 5 races in his debut. But even still, the fact that these talks are even happening with the season not even starting yet is kind of crazy, so I just wanted to yap about it. Anyways, I want to give a quick shout out to all members of the flock for their continued support, and remember, if you want to see videos early and get some more cool benefits, make sure to join us since it also really helps me out. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe for better content, and make sure to let me know in the comments what you think. And as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.